Highlights, news, and
Mike will be
interviews from
hot
the
in
world of South
3,
Carolina
2.
high school football.
Powered by Founders
Mike
Federal
is
Credit
hot.
Union, official credit union of the Saturday Morning Scramble, and your local Ingalls Market.
It's the Saturday Morning Scramble on the Fan Upstate.
The number one question that I get asked throughout the course of the year is, when is the Saturday Morning Scramble returning to the Fan Upstate? And ladies and gentlemen, I have good news for you on this Saturday morning, August the 16th, 8 a.m. It is returning today. So wake up, get your coffee, get your sports mind going, high school football fans. We're back, and we are better than ever. The Saturday Morning Scramble live this morning from Ingalls Markets, 8650 Asheville Highway in Boiling Springs, South Carolina. A big, big show coming your way. Melissa from Ingalls is already in the building. Want to start off the show by saying thanks to Ingalls Markets as well as Founders Federal Credit Union for their sponsorship of the Saturday Morning Scramble. Alex Guest to my right as always. And Alex, the dog days of summer, they're gone. It's time. We saw real football last night, almost real football. I don't know if you're as excited as I am. I'm sure you are, but it's good to finally see teams playing other teams and not hitting, the same pads every day that they're used to. We've made it. Good news, we've made it, and high school football is back.
Cole, the countdown in my household until high school football has been on for about the last 8 weeks.
Yeah,
so,
I'm with you.
And that says a lot, because as of last night, I had a 2-week-old.
There you go.
In the house.
Congratulations
Yeah, so,
on that, by the way. Ella, right?
Ella, yes, Ella. So, my wife was giving me some grief because I had a countdown to the baby coming, and I had a countdown to high school football.
And you look more forward to the football. I'm kidding.
No,
I'm kidding. By the way, year 7 of the Saturday Morning Scramble begins today. I cannot believe that doesn't sound right, but it is year 7 of the Saturday Morning Scramble. We started it in 2019. Rob Jones did a fantastic job for a year filling in while I was away. But year 7 of the Saturday Morning Scramble kicks off right now. Appreciate you high school football fans that tune in every single Saturday. Want to let you know you can also watch the show. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube at the Fan Upstate. So many ways to listen to the Saturday Scramble as well. 97.1 FM in Spartanburg, 97.7 FM in Greenville. Online at thefanupstate.com, the free Odyssey app, AUDACY. And now, Alex Guest, on the iHeartMedia app as well. So no excuses. No excuses when it comes to how to find the Saturday Morning Scramble. And we're so excited to be with you to kick off the 2025 season. As I mentioned, jamborees, scrimmages going on for the last 2 weeks, Alex. But today, as of right now, we are declaring it officially week 0. Week 0 is here, and the real games begin on Friday night. So we're excited for that. A big show coming your way today. We have Gray Ramsey of Mountain View Prep, which you look to the left, Alex, and you can literally see Mountain
View.
It's over
there.
I mean, you can literally look out to the left, and it's right there. So if you wonder what Ingalls we're at, or right across the street from MVP, Mountain View Prep, we'll have Gray Ramsey and a few players at 8:30. Matt Reel, Bowling Springs, and a few Bulldogs at 9:30. And in between, we're talking high school football with you as well. Let us know what your name is, where you're watching from, and who your high school football team is. The Hub City Spartanburgers text line is open, 844-326-3663. That's 844-FANFONE. Alex, we'll get to some of the biggest games. We'll get to what happened last night. We'll get to what happened over the past couple of weeks, quarterback controversies leading into the season. So much to get to. But I just think the first thing we do is look at the storylines from last season, a season ago. And we ask the question, when it comes to the storylines, the teams that were really good in 2024, will they be as dominant in 2025? The teams that weren't as good in 2024, will they bounce back? And there's a lot of good teams out there in the upstate this year, including teams that are on the fringe of our coverage area that we're going to cover. We did our Spartanburg County and Greenville County high school football kickoff show on Wire to Wire a couple of weeks ago, but we cover a little bit broader of an area on the Saturday Scramble. from Spartanburg to Greenville to Cherokee County to Union County, even over to Anderson. Even Anderson this year is going to have some really good teams in it. I think we're going to be in for a special year. I don't know how many of our teams will make a state championship run, but I think we've definitely got some loaded teams ready to have a good 2025.
Yeah, I agree with you, Cole. And you talk about the teams that we cover, the schools we cover in the area that kind of branch out, and you get a little bit further out than what you would normally think in that Greenville Spartanburg area. I mean, you talk about, we have 2 state champions technically in that coverage area in Abbeville and Clinton last year, and a state runner-up in Belton Honea also. And I was thinking there was another state runner-up, but I guess not. But Westside was a state runner-up.
That's right. Your memory is a lot better than mine is, especially at 8 a.m. on a Saturday.
I had to pull up my cheat sheet
there you
over
go.
here. It's not that good. But, I mean, you talk about some big-time football in just those 4 schools, obviously, and then you talk about kind of the black and blue regions of 4A and 5A and so on and so forth. I mean, we've got probably you and I are both from the area. We're both from Spartanburg, Cherokee counties. We've got the best high school football in the state right here that we cover.
We do. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's a lot of good teams. You know, I've seen a lot of teams this summer in 7-on-7s. I've seen a good many teams the past couple of weeks, scrimmages and jamborees. And, you know, everybody always asks me, how's so-and-so looking? How's this team looking? How's that team looking? And I think, especially with 7-on-7s, you have to kind of be careful of what you evaluate. And look, I'm not a football expert by any means, but, you know, when you start putting pads on, you can start getting a little bit better of a sample of what you're actually going to get in terms of what you'll see on Friday nights. For example, last night, a lot of really good scrimmages and jamborees happening, Alex. We had the McDonald's Kickoff Classic at Gaffney, the McDonald's Kickoff Classic at Chapman High School, the McDonald's Kickoff Classic at Woodruff last Thursday, and then this past Monday at Union County High School. So a lot of action there. The D2 jamboree last night featured Union County, and it also featured Chesney, Boiling Springs, J.L. Mann, Dorman, and Ridgeview. Chesney 21-0 over Union County. Dorman fell to Ridgeview last night, and Boiling Springs fell to J.L. Mann. So I know they're not full games, so you can't really take it like a normal Friday night game, but just from the scrimmages we have had in the last 2 weeks, you look across the upstate and think, okay, there are teams that I mentioned a minute ago that need to have bounce back seasons. And one of those that we've talked about, and I get asked about more than anybody, is the Dorman Cavaliers. They lost last night to Ridgeview. They beat Hillcrest on Monday, 3-0 in 3 quarters. I was there for that one, saw Dorman and Hillcrest. Look, we all love high school football, and we all remember the Blue Bloods, especially in Spartanburg County, but Dorman has made some really big changes in the offseason with coaching staff, bringing in Jason Farmer. Michael Lancaster back is the offensive line coach. I just think that there are expectations on the Dorman Cavaliers this year, Alex. And look, I'm not saying there's pressure on anybody there because I'm not in the building and I don't know, but I think overall there is a little bit of pressure on Dorman to kind of get back this year to where they once were.
Yeah, absolutely, Cole. And, you know, you talk about a Dave Gutshaw-led team that for years and years was always in that state championship contention conversation. And then when Gutshaw retires and leaves and you get a new coach in and you try to figure out what's going on.
He's only there for a year.
Exactly. And then, you know, Jake Morris entering his 3rd year here. I've always said that it takes 3 years for a coach to really get into a school and implement what he wants and have his players that are playing for him. And that may not really be the case in today's age and time where you see a lot of transfers in and out of high schools. But again, 3rd year for Jake Morris. He's had a tough go at it. I mean, he's had a couple of tough schedules.
Sure.
You know, we all know what happened when they went down to Grayson, Georgia last year.
I'm glad he got that off the schedule.
Exactly, yeah. So they replaced that game with Catawba Ridge,
right?
Which should be a
little
bit more manageable and a little bit better of a measuring stick for them, as opposed to having a team that has 13 Division I players line up across from them. But you know, I mean, they are in that black and blue region, and like you mentioned, Dorman has notoriously been a good team in that
Absolutely.
region that is
Absolutely.
always there in that conversation. So I think they do kind of get back to a little bit of that prominence and a little bit of that talk late in the season.
I think it's going to be really interesting to see what their offense looks like. They've got 2 really good running backs, quarterback transfer in from Asheville area, Jason Farmer running that offense as the OC with Michael Lancaster back. I think you're going to see more of a ground attack, I don't want to say go back to what Gutshaw used to do, but I think you're going to see a more Dorman style offense than you've seen a couple or over the past couple of years. Dorman opens the season with Greenville. Alex Greenville, a team, first-year head coach. You're talking about a coaching carousel. They've had a few coaches in the last couple of years after Greg Porter left and Jabo Shaw came in, and he was only there for a short time. Didn't really have success there. Went back to Georgia. Now you see Scoot Watson from J.L. Mann going to Greenville High School. Greenville played Burns last night in the preseason scrimmage, and I do believe Burns came out on top in that one. It was a different format, wasn't live like you normally have during a game, but I do find it intriguing from a Greenville aspect who opens up against Dorman. 2 different situations. Dorman, who's trying to get back to where they were, Greenville trying to build something consistent. Greg Porter did. Greg Porter won at Hillcrest, too, and has pretty much won everywhere he's been. Saw them last night as well with Lawrence. They looked really good. By the way, not running that option offense anymore, running a spread like he used to, and they looked pretty good last night. But I will say Greenville's an interesting story. Scoot Watson had immeasurable success very quickly at J.O. Mann. Can he do the same thing at Greenville?
Yeah, and that's the question, Cole, is, you talk about the districting lines in Greenville County are kind of weird, and you don't want to use the word gerrymandered because that's not the right word, but kind of think of it like that, where J.O. Mann kind of has some pull from some certain areas that you look at it and it's like, why are they going to J.O. Mann?
Sure.
But the same thing can be said for Greenville, because Greenville is the downtown Greenville High School. It is the school where they, over the years, have kind of picked and choose where they can draw their students from. And there's actually believe it or not, there is a wealth of talent in that Greenville.
There is.
In that Greenville zone. And, I can remember a decade ago, Greenville would go up against some of the toughest teams in the state and take them down to the wire or beat them.
And I think they'll get back there.
I think so too.
Scoot Watson, now that you're able to legally transfer one time, the high school league passing that, Alex, you have the flexibility to add guys quickly or quicker, right? Greenville County is interesting. You have a Hillcrest team that has just improved every year under Bennett Swaggart, and we all think the world of him and the job he's done at Hillcrest. Jackson Free in a full-time role, Alex as starting quarterback. He came in midway through the season last year and then took the job and ran with it. I believe replacing Caleb. I believe it was Caleb Sutton.
Yes.
I don't want to say, is that right?
Yes.
Without looking. And Jackson Free's a young quarterback that has a lot of upside. I think that when you look at Greenville County collectively, we talked about it yesterday on Wire to Wire. You have so many good coaches in the area now in Greenville County. Bennett Swaggart, Hillcrest, they're going to be really good in the next couple of years. I've talked to a few people over there, and they'll be good this year, but I think that they feel like that the class they have coming up next year could be a really special year for them. And we've seen in the past couple of years, Alex, Hillcrest kind of just getting right there. They beat Burns a couple of years ago in the second round of the playoffs at Burns. So they're kind of knocking on that door of being a really, really good team that could compete in Division II for a state championship.
Yeah, you're right, Cole. And, again, I kind of look back 10, 15 years ago. Hillcrest was kind of one of those teams where you were scheduling them for homecoming.
Yeah.
They were the
outside
homecoming
of
game.
What Greg Porter did.
Yeah.
And he won a state championship there. Outside of that, I mean,
they were the team that you scheduled for homecoming, and you kind of circled that date on the calendar as this is a guaranteed win, more or less. And that hasn't been the case really since Greg Porter was there.
Yeah. Keeping it rolling in Greenville County, just kind of looking around. We talked about Scoot Watson going to Greenville, Alex, from J.O. Mann. J.O. Mann, first-year head coach, and Bryce Smiley, who left Gaffney, longtime Gaffney coach, player, won a state championship as both a player and a coach, now goes to J.O. Mann to get his first crack at it, following in the footsteps of Scoot Watson, who was successful really quickly at J.O. Mann. We've had Coach Smiley on a couple of times since he got the job. What are your thoughts on what Coach Smiley can do in his first year? Obviously, you've seen him and known him from his time at Gaffney, but I think it's going to be really interesting to watch what a guy like him, what a guy like Bryce can do over at a Greenville County school. I'm intrigued by it.
Yeah, I think J.O. Mann is a great starting job. If you have to pick a place that is on the up and up and has the community support behind them to start a career at coaching, I think J.O. Mann's the right place for Bryce Smiley. I mean, you know you've got something going on good when 92% of your players make 90% or more of your summer workouts.
Sure.
So I mean that's
you got to
just
get that buy-in.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's just absolutely incredible for Bryce. Absolutely wish him the best of luck at J.O. Mann. And you mentioned it. I've watched his defenses for the last, how long was he the defensive coordinator in Gaffney?
Yeah.
So I've watched those defenses, and if anybody knows anything about Gaffney football, you know that Gaffney football has typically had a really stout, really good defense year in and year out for the last 10, 15, 20 plus years. Not saying that Bryce has been there, the defensive coordinator that long, but again, it just goes to show what he was able to continue at Gaffney once he came back home and started coaching there, and then what he's taken to J.O. Mann.
Speaking of Gaffney, last night at the McDonald's Kickoff Classic, Blacksburg was able to get a big win to open that thing up. I talked to Josh Batchelor last night during that lightning delay for probably 10 minutes. And I tell you what, Alex, Blacksburg, and again, remember, small team, not the numbers that a lot of these schools have. I was really impressed from what I saw with Blacksburg last night. They won over
North
Gaston. Thank you, North Gaston. And they won over North Gaston. Looked good offensive line. They've got some good play up there, and the quarterback's an athlete. Josh Batchelor at Blacksburg was really intrigued by what he saw. Lawrence beat Chase last night. I mentioned that Greg Porter kind of went back to more of a spread offense in terms of what he's doing at Lawrence, which he should be doing. That's kind of what his calling card is. Third game was Gaffney versus Dutch Fork. A really good game. They finished the game with about a minute 40 something on the clock because of the lightning delay, but it came out. Gaffney came out 3 and out the first 2 drives, and you kind of thought, we don't really know what we're going to see yet. And Javon Gilmore played the first 2 drives, and all of a sudden Banks Boughton came in for Gaffney after that and provided a little bit of a spark. And boy, last night Dutch Fork looked good as well, but Gaffney looked really, really good last night. And I know it's preseason. I know it's just a scrimmage, jamboree, whatever you want to call it, but for Gaffney to beat Dutch Fork last night and not be making the crucial mistakes, not be, and I know Gaffney is never going to be intimidated playing Dutch Fork, but not falling, to the hype of, okay, well, Dutch Fork's coming into town and really focusing on themselves last night. I was really impressed with what I saw from Gaffney last night. We know what they have year in and year out. Some guys that came in and transferred into Gaffney from Kings Mountain, Blacksburg. They got some Gaffney guys back in the portal as well, if you want to call it that. But they're absolutely loaded. And the way they handled Dutch Fork last night, beat them by a touchdown, I think you're going to see this Gaffney team in contention for a state championship. And they've got 2 quarterbacks that are capable of making plays. Javon had a nice pass last night as well, hit Jaden McDowell in the hands, and Jaden just couldn't bring it in. So from what we saw last night, Alex, you've got 2 quarterbacks that are capable of running an offense and a lot of talent around them. Really good defense. I think Gaffney's going to be in store for a really big season.
Yeah, and you just kind of think about it, and it's like, well, you've got a new head coach, a new offensive coordinator, a new defensive coordinator.
That's right.
And other than that, you've got a lot of familiar faces on both sides of the ball. You've got a lot of other familiar faces in assistant coaches on the coaching staff for Gaffney. But again, I agree with you. I think Gaffney, you talk about Gaffney, they're always going to be in contention. They're always going to be in the running for a state championship to make a deep run in the playoffs.
Yep.
But it's one of those decisions, after what I could see last night, Donnie Littlejohn's got his hands full in making some decisions on who's going to be his day one starter at quarterback, who's going to be starting at a running back position. Just the little pieces that are going to have to fall into place. And I know that's why you do these preseason scrimmages and jamborees to try to figure that out.
But I think I will say this: I think a realistic expectation that Gaffney fans should have is that you're going to see both of them, throughout the course of the year, and whether
especially after what I saw last night. I mean, both quarterbacks made beautiful passes.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people, including myself, want to choose one and go with them. That's just the way a lot of us are wired, right? You want one quarterback to be the guy and have that consistency and continuity, but But I think, again, I'm not a coach, but I think you'll see both quarterbacks, Banks Boughton and Javon Gilmore, take snaps for Gaffney throughout the year. Ricky on the Facebook stream says quarterback controversy is on the way soon. Again, Ricky, I don't know how much of a controversy it is. I think you have both that are capable of running that offense, and I think you're going to see both. So I know that might not be the answer that fans want to hear, but you've got to just trust in the coaching staff that they're seeing in practice every day what we're not seeing, and whatever does happen, it's the best decision. So a lot to get to, Alex, on the show. Want to remind our audience out there that we are live this morning at Ingalls Markets, 8650 Asheville Highway in Boiling Springs. It's the Springfield location right across from Mountain View Prep. I want to say a big thanks to Ingalls Markets. Melissa is here, and I'll tell you what, the spread, Melissa, you're going to get pulled away from Ingalls from to a restaurant, I believe. Incredible spread over there. Yes, 14 days till football. Melissa's ready. And I'll tell you what, Ingalls is the absolute best. So whatever you're doing this weekend, grilling out, whatever it is, make sure you visit your local Ingalls Market. We'll continue the conversation on the other side. We will also be joined in a few minutes by Gray Ramsey and a couple of players from Mountain View Prep to talk a little high school football. Both of their scrimmages got called off last night. I believe they were at BHP.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
And I think they had a little bit of weather issue up there. So we'll get the full scoop and insight and an outlook on 3A and what that region entails, with Woodruff being really good this year, Alex. A lot more conversation to be had right here on the Saturday morning scramble on the Fan Upstate, brought to you by Ingalls and Founders Federal Credit Union.
let you know when your
And
mic is hot.
today by visiting us online at tra.com.
10
or
seconds
call
before the promo, before the
800-575-9834.
liner.
That's 800-575-9834. Tax Relief Advocate.
Mike will be hot and
07 followed by keyword fan.
This is the Saturday Morning Scramble on the Fan Upstate.
We're continuing the high school football conversation right here on the Fan Upstate. He's Alex Guest to my right. I'm Cole Bryson. So good to be with you on this Saturday. The 2025 debut of the Saturday Morning Scramble is airing right now, and we will be with you all the way through state championship weekend in December. Your home for high school football coverage that you will not get anywhere else is right here on the Fan Upstate. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, family that enjoy high school football to tag along, jump in, and have a little high school football conversation with us. I want to remind you that we are live at Ingalls Markets, 8650 Asheville Highway in Boiling Springs. It's the Springfield location right across the street from Mountain View Prep. So if you know where Mountain View Prep is, Alex Guest and I are here until 10 a.m. Melissa Level and the team from Ingalls is here as well. I mean, just an absolute magnificent spread over there, Alex. I know you were over there during the break tasting everything. I'm kidding. You weren't.
No, I was. You just didn't see me.
I wouldn't blame you.
I was.
I wouldn't blame you.
I mean, that fruit spread and
fruit
the
spread looks
bagels
good,
and
yeah.
donuts.
Looks
My
good, man.
goodness.
I'm telling you, I'll go for the fruit in a minute. It looks fantastic. So just again, I want to say,
and I think she's off to get more now.
She don't need any. No, we don't need any more. we need no more. Melissa is the absolute best. Again, I want to say thanks to her as well as Founders Federal Credit Union for all that they do for this show and station and for high school athletics as well. Mountain View Prep joining us in a few minutes right here on the Fan Upstate. Alex, you look at teams in Spartanburg County. We've talked about some teams in Greenville County. We'll get back to them throughout the course of the show. But just right down the road, Chapman, they had the McDonald's Kickoff Classic last night. Chapman's an interesting team to talk about in 2025. Harry Cabanis still leading the Panthers. And, last year was a tough year for Chapman. And I want to say this the right way. They had a very tough schedule last year compared to years in the past where it was not as tough out of region. Their schedule, if you look at high school football schedules in the upstate, Chapman's got one of the toughest schedules in the state, probably. And I think it's the exact same from last year. Is that right?
Yeah, it is.
It is. It's tough. They were young last year, Alex. They were also really injury plagued last year. Harry Cavaniss' team was. But boy, like you don't get any like warm-ups or tune-ups in that and with that schedule that you're looking at because they jump right in and they're full throttle. Their non-conference is probably just as tough, if not tougher, than the region, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, Cole. I mean, you mentioned it. You're jumping right in. You dive head first into a game with Daniel, and you played at their place last year. That's a weird place to play a football game, man. Daniel down in that hole, but they come to you this year. But then you have 3 straight road games. You're at St. Joe's, which St. Joe's not the St. Joe's of past last year, but they made the move up to 3A. So they were trying to figure some things out. Then you're at Boiling Springs. You're at state champion Clinton. You're back home against Christchurch, which again, Christchurch, the jump up to 3A last year, they've got things figured out. Quinn Hatfield's going to have them playing some of the best ball that they've played in a while. And then, no big deal. Right before your bye week, you get Belton Honeypath, who state runner-up last year, right? So, so just in that first 6 games, you've got Daniel, who has won a state championship in the last 2 years. You've got Clinton, who won a state championship last year. Yeah. You've got BHP, who lost in the state championship last year.
Sure.
Then you get into your region, which is Mountain View. We all know what they did last year under Gray Ramsey.
Yeah.
You got Union County. You've got Woodruff. We know what Brett Sloan has those guys doing down at Woodruff. And then you got Broome, who, Lynn Fleming and a Broome and a Broome team is really nothing to scoff at.
Yeah, well, it's a very tough schedule. Very tough schedule. We'll see how they start off the season. I think Harry Cavaniss is excited this year to have some of those young guys in more of leadership type roles, a little bit more experience, hopefully not near as many injuries as they had last year.
9 starters out in the first 5 games.
That's what I'm saying. So they didn't really have their full,
Yeah.
arsenal, if you will, in terms of what they were able to do offensively and defensively. So it'll be really interesting to see in terms of what their region record is. They start off. I mean, we talked about it. Their non-conference is really tough. Broom's going to be interesting as well. Broome Landrum last night. They were supposed to play over at Gaffney in that last McDonald's Kickoff Classic game, but the Lightning, they ended up having to go home. They didn't make it out. Bowling Springs falls last night at the D2 Jamboree, Alex, to J.L. Mann. We talked about J.L. Mann in the previous segment with Bryce Smiley and what their outlook was in 2025. Bowling Springs, boy, it's going to be an interesting year for the Bulldogs, replacing a lot offensively, replacing quarterback, and Lincoln Husky, one of the best quarterbacks in the state last year, and what they were able to do offensively with Patterson and those guys. It's going to be, I think defensively they'll still be good, but they're replacing a lot offensively.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about defensively. I mean, you've still got TJ Collins. He's a blue-collar kid. You've got Jeremiah Favorite, the Michigan State commit. And you've got a big defensive lineman in Dennis Glenn, who has 12 D1 offers right now, which is huge. But offensively, you like you mentioned, you lose a lot from that offensive production last year. But I think Matt Real, and we'll get to talk to them here today as well. Yeah. I think Matt Real is gonna be able to figure that out. They've got 3 pretty decent, pretty good warm-up games. You got Greer to start the season, Malden and Chapman before your region schedule starts, and then you're going to dive headfirst into that region. You've got a game at Gaffney, which went down to the wire last year. I think you and I were both at that game.
Sure.
That ended in overtime with Gaffney coming out on top on a game where Javon Gilmore, the quarterback for Gaffney, ended up going out late in the game, and it was kind of left up to Jaden McDowell and his legs and the legs of who was it that scored that last touchdown for Gaffney?
Yeah.
Regardless, Boiling Springs had a couple of tough games last year that you kind of look back and you say, maybe we should have won those games. But 7-4 last year, I think you improve on that this year. But again, you got to figure out that offense.
Sure, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch Bowling Springs in 2025 to see how they replace that offensive efficiency. I know they had a quarterback battle going on. Again, we'll talk to Matt Real coming up in the 9 o'clock hour and a few players as well about their season and what they expect to look like. But you mentioned their defense with Dennis Glenn up front, Jeremiah Favorite. They're going to have horses on defense. And look, one thing we've learned, Alex, in Region 2-5A is defenses keep you in games.
Absolutely.
Dorman was really good defensively last year. Burns was really good defensively last year. You look at how Burns, their defense was able to keep them in the game against Gaffney, go to double overtime. Dorman, the same thing. They beat Gaffney a season ago. So we've seen that if you have a good defense, you're going to be able to stay in a lot of games. And Bowling Springs defensively, I think in the region, they're going to have one of the better defenses. It's just a matter of what their offensive production looks like in terms of replacing Lincoln Husky and replacing all those guys that they lost. So that'll be really interesting to see, Alex. Also in that region, Spartanburg last night, they got 1 quarter in against Mallard Creek. And Mallard Creek's a really interesting team that, out of North Carolina has always had a lot of talent. But Spartanburg, maybe the best defense that I've seen in the past decade a season ago. Obviously, they lost a lot of those guys off of that defense like Peyton Jones and Cam Smith and guys like that. But you still have your quarterback and running back returning. So, look, people are saying, well, Spartanburg lost so much defensively. But I'll tell you, man, with what they have on offense, I think they're still going to be in contention this year. I don't know if they'll be as good defensively, but Alex, when you have in high school football, when you have a third-year starter returning in Trey Burke, I think there's a lot that Mark Hodge can do with Spartanburg in 2025 from an offensive standpoint.
Yeah, and when your head coach is saying that he's the best quarterback that he's ever coached, that says something, especially when your head coach is Mark Hodge and he's had some good quarterbacks over the years. But you talk about you lost 9 defensive starters to graduation. So that that is going to take a toll as the season goes on, or early in the season, rather, Cole, when you're trying to figure out what to do with that defense. But then they looked really good last night against Mallard Creek.
Sure.
And Coach Hodge is finally able to run a complete offense like he likes to run now. And he mentioned he's got 2 6-foot receivers. He's got the best kicker in the country, the universe, the galaxy.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, we say that jokingly, but maybe seriously. I mean,
he hit a 53-yarder last night. Coach Hodge said that he's gonna let him kick 60 if it gets down to it. If they get in a situation where he feels like this kid can hit the 60-yarder. So when you have that much faith in your quarterback, a running back who's tough, he's just a tough player. He's balanced and has huge explosion. You've got a kicker that can end drives for you.
And field position too, man.
Exactly.
Like in high school football, people don't realize. I mean, field position's so big,
I mean,
and when that kid can just put you anywhere on the field that he wants to, it's tough. Makes it tough on offenses.
Yeah.
So I think Spartanburg's going to be just fine. Region 2 5A wise, I look at the region as what I saw last night. Gaffney's absolutely loaded top to bottom. They're going to be really, really tough to beat in 2025. I think Spartanburg's really interesting with Trey Burke being back and Trenton Lynch that we talked about at running back, one of the better running backs in the state. And then Burns, well, they're running backs. I mean, you talk about Trey Segura and Jacoby Fuller, Jaden McDowell at Gaffney, Trenton Lynch at Spartanburg, Trey Segura and Jacoby Fuller at Burns. This is a running back region. And there are other good backs. Don't forget Dorman has 2 really good running back or has a really good running back room. And Jason Farmer, offensive coordinator at Dorman, told me they're going to be run heavy. He said, look, we've got 2 really good backs, and I think Dorman's going to be tough. So this region, I think, like, while it may not be at its peak in terms of what it's been in the history of Region 2 5A or that region with those teams, while it may not be at its peak, I think you're going to see the absolute best running back, not spread, but just in terms of the running backs in the region. Go find a region in the state where you're going to have as many talented running backs in one region as you have in Region 2 5A. I mean, it's unbelievable. So you talk about defense as being really good. Those guys are going to be super important as well. Jaden McDowell running the football at Gaffney. The thing with him is past couple of years, injuries have really hurt him. And if he can stay fully healthy, last night he looked healthy, and he looked really, really good last night. There was one play where he made Dutch Fork's defense look silly, and I mean that respectfully. But if Jaden McDowell stays healthy, Trey Segura stays healthy. Remember, he only played a couple of games last year. He went out in a preseason scrimmage or a jamboree and was out for the majority of the season. So if these running backs in Region 2 5A stay healthy, you're going to see some impressive football when it comes to what teams can do on offense. Quarterback's important. We all talk about how important quarterback position is. But, man, if you can run the football like I think these teams in Region 2 5A will, should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you mentioned the running backs and just the players overall staying healthy. I think there's one group of people that, kind of stays in the shadows on the sidelines on Friday nights and doesn't necessarily get the love and appreciation that they deserve. And that's your strength coaches. I mean, you talk about that region has some of the best strength programs and strength coaches in the state. And those are your guys, those strength coaches are the guys that are going out there week in and week out, keeping your players healthy and making sure that they're ready to go. So, shout out to the strength coaches as well.
Final segment of the first hour of the Saturday morning scramble coming your way. Some of the players to watch in 2025, your thoughts as well at 844-326-3663. I'm Cole Bryson. He's Alex Guest. John doing a great job back in the Ingalls Markets studios. We're live at Ingalls on Asheville Highway 8650, Asheville Highway in Boiling Springs. If you're a high school football fan, hop in on the conversation. We continue the conversation next.
Mike is hot.
Saturday Scramble continues right here on the Fan Upstate. So good to be with you on this Saturday morning. I'm Cole Bryson, joined by Alex Guest to my right, and it is the first Saturday Scramble of the 2025 season, the debut of the Saturday Scramble, and it is the 7th season. Do you realize that, Alex? Year 7?
Year 7.
Year
you
7.
know, you mentioned that in the first segment.
You didn't
of the
believe me,
show.
though, did you?
Year 7.
Year 7
you know,
of the
it's
Saturday Scramble.
which means that I've been doing this. This is my 3rd year.
That's right.
Which is
That's right.
Fun, incredible. You know,
Good. I'm glad.
The fact that you brought me back after like year 1,
Yeah.
after show 1,
Yeah.
you know,
That's right.
No, it's. I'm just happy football's back.
It's
man.
back. It is back. We'll be joined by Gray Ramsey of Mountain View Prep in about 15 minutes on the show. Matt Rill and some Bowling Springs players coming up at 9:30. So a lot more conversation to be had. Some really good games happening in week 0 next Friday night. We'll get to those a little bit later on in the show. Still just highlighting some teams in 2025 and what their outlook is. I'll tell you one team we haven't mentioned yet, Alex, who plays Seneca in week 0. I saw Powdersville a couple of weeks ago in a 7-on-7. And again, it's 7-on-7, so you don't want to take, too much away from it. But I don't know that I've seen as much size at Powdersville in a very long time. Robert Muster comes on this show a good bit. I think Powdersville is going to have a really good season. I think they've got a chance to make a run. They just got huge size across the board. Offensive line, wide receiver, the quarterback looks really solid. And Robert Muster, we know, is always a good coach. He's had a couple of rough starts over the past few years, but they're always able to bounce back and get that thing rolling. I think Powdersville's an interesting team that in their region might be one of those sneaky teams to make a state championship run.
Yeah, I mean, look, Cole, they were 9-4 overall last year. They went undefeated in that region of the Southside Christian Christ Church, St. Joe's. Those 3 teams moved up to 3A last year, so they really kind of got hit in the face, hit in the mouth a little bit. Then Palmetto and Carolina, but you mentioned a tough non-region schedule, a tough non-conference schedule, and
sure,
you've got Powdersville playing Seneca, Abbeville, Wren, Pendleton, Broome. I mean, those are 5 tough teams to play, especially when you talk about the Abbeville, Wren, Pendleton. I mean, that's kind of a tough stretch there. But no, I mean, Robert Muster, he's the only coach that Powdersville has ever had.
That's right.
In his 14th season.
Yeah.
82-66 overall. You talk about last year, the 4 losses for them last year, you kind of look at and you say, well, maybe a couple of things here and there. I mean, you lost the season opener to Seneca by 1 point. You lost to Abbeville by 10. And then you kind of had a tough game against Wren, 34-7. And then you lost to BHP, who in the playoffs, who, again, that game was 35-14 last year. But you talk about those first 2 games of the season, you really feel like things, if 1 or 2 things would have gone your way that you could fix this offseason and really focus on, you're talking about 2 more wins for Powdersville.
Continuing the round table discussion, how about Greer? The Greer Yellow Jackets, Will Young now in his 405th year, I believe, Alex, at Greer High School.
I think it's 412.
412. He's been there for so long. He's a fantastic coach, great guy. You heard him on this station a couple of weeks ago during the Greenville County High School football kickoff show. Greer had a good year last year. Greer's also fell victim to some guys leaving the program because in that area you have other programs that are also really good. So you're in a way having to compete for athletes over there at Greer. But Will Young bringing some really talented players back at the skill position. They did graduate some guys that I believe, Alex, are going to hurt them, and that might be a little bit young at some key positions. But Greer was a team last year that beat Burns and that had a nice little run. And what we always learn about Will Young is that they're going to play, or one thing that we always know, Alex, they're going to play a tough non-region schedule, as they always do, and then Greer's going to get better every week. They might not be the best team week 0, week 1, week 2, but you just see Greer every year getting better each week, and that's kind of a mark of a Will Young-led team.
Yeah, and again, you talk about non-region schedule being tough, kind of get you prepared for that region schedule. Yeah, look at these 4 teams that Greer opens up with. Boiling Springs, Belton Honeypath, Hillcrest, Burns. Not an easy
Who
non-region
made that
schedule.
schedule?
Yeah, right.
God,
Well, Will Young.
what was
in his,
he
you know,
thinking?
but I mean, we say that he's in his 405th season, very tongue-in-cheek, but he's in his 21st season
21st.
as the head coach at Greer.
Yeah.
He's the only head coach that has been at Greer since these kids that are playing for him have been alive.
Sure.
But I mean, he's 153-79 overall record.
Pretty good.
Really
good, actually.
He was on the coaching staff, or sorry, not on the coaching staff, but Greer has a proud tradition of football, and they take their football very seriously. There are very few teams around the state that put their football state championships on the side of a water tower.
Yeah.
And Greer is one of those.
What are the region games again for them?
Region is Berea, Travelers Rest, Pickens, Blue Ridge, Seneca, Daniel, and they went 5-1 in that region last year. The only loss was the Daniel game.
Yeah.
But again, that
they played really good. I'm telling you, that's why he schedules those non-region games. They played really good in the region last year, and that Burns win wasn't the region win, but boy, did it kind of. You look back at last year after that Burns win, man, they were able to reel some off. What they win, like 6 of the last 7 or something,
yeah,
right?
so they won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the last 8 that they played.
Lost in the playoffs.
I know counting like that was very riveting radio, but lost in the playoffs to South Point, who, I mean, we all know what South Point is. That's a long road trip out to Rock Hill, and 56-17 was the final of that game. But, I mean, you talk about in your region, you beat Berea 63-0. You beat Blue Ridge 49-21, 21-13 over Seneca, 42-21 over Pickens, 51-0 over Travelers Rest. Your one hiccup in the region, like we mentioned, was Daniel, 48-21. Daniel got the win in that one. But,
sure.
I mean, you start the season with those tough games. They got blanked by Bowling Springs last year, 43-0. And everybody was looking at that and said,
it's first game of the year, right?
Yeah, first game of the year. Everybody looks at that and says, oh, what's going on over
but
at Greer?
That was a really good Bowling Springs team.
Exactly.
Too. Really good Bowling Springs team. And then the other 3 non-region, we talked about Burns and was it BHP second week?
BHP, they got beat by 30. They had the game against Hillcrest that it looked like they probably should have won. It looked like they were going to win.
Will Young talks about that game this year and last year. They didn't win it, but Will Young talked about that game as that was kind of where we started turning the page a little bit because they started playing well against Hillcrest and a good Hillcrest team a season ago. I think, look, you look at Greer, if you're a Greer fan, I mean, you're like, man, what are we doing with the schedule? But it does pay off. And no disrespect to the teams in the region outside of Daniel, but Greer plays a way tougher out of region slate than their region slate is. So, yeah, I know that the coach's job is to win games, and fans may want them to win. But ultimately, if you win the ones that matter, which are the region games, he's done his job. And Will Young's done an incredible job. 21 years, you said, is that it?
20, yeah. This is his 21st year.
21st year.
That's it. That's all. I mean, no big deal.
In the world we live in with so many new coaches, first-year coaches, it's amazing to see somebody at a place that long.
Yeah,
21
absolutely.
years, and I mean, think about it. Right now in the state of South Carolina, where do you see I'm putting you on the spot here, but where do you see programs with a head coach who's been there for 21 years? I mean, you could probably count those on 1 or 2 hands, right? Especially in the upstate.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's no upstate coaches.
The only other one I can think of is Jamie Nichols over at Abbeville.
Yeah.
Who I think is in his 20th season.
Yeah, I mean, and you think about how long Dan Jones was gassed. He wasn't there 21.
15.
21 years
15.
is a long time at one place. That's a good homework assignment for us during the week in terms of the longevity of coaches. Who's been – I mean, I just say right now I think Will Young's got to be in the upstate there as long as any coach. I mean, 21 years at one program is just phenomenal. So, really interesting to see what Greer will do again, opening with Bowling Springs.
Jamie Nichols at Abbeville, 22 years. Will Young, 21 years. And then elsewhere in the upstate, you got to go to Russell Blackston at BHP.
He's
16.
been there
16
years.
Yeah.
I remember us talking to him a couple of times last year about how long he's been there.
And then Robert Muster, 14 at Powdersville.
So those 4, I mean, that's incredible. And so Jamie Nichols, who I talked to at the clinic, he's got to beat by 1 year.
22 years, Jamie Nichols.
Year,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He's got Will Young beat by 1 year. So Will might want to, whenever Jamie retires, just go like 2 more years and see if you can. That's impressive, man. It really is. A lot more to get to right here on the Saturday Morning Scramble. Hour number 2 of the show is next right here on the Fan Upstate.
Scores, highlights, news, and interviews from the world of South Carolina.
Let you know when the mic is hot.
Powered by Founders Federal Credit Union, official credit union
Mic
of the
is hot
Saturday Morning Scramble
in
and your
3,
local Ingalls
2.
Market.
It's the Saturday
Mic
Morning
is hot.
Scramble on the Fan Upstate.
Hour number 2 of the show is live right now. Saturday Morning Scramble. We're live from 8650 Asheville Highway, Boiling Springs, right across the street from Mountain View Prep. Gray Ramsey, the head coach of Mountain View Prep, joining us right here on the Fan Upstate. Alex Guest to my right, and we have one more hour of conversation to be had on the Fan Upstate in our 2025 debut of the Saturday Scramble in year 7. Matt Real and some Boiling Springs Bulldogs set to join us in about 30 minutes on the show. Coach, have you guys officially claimed this as your Ingalls, your area now? Because used to, it was so hard to describe where you were. We know it as Springfield, but if you're not from here, nobody knows what Springfield is. Now it's a lot easier. You just say right across the street from Mountain View Prep.
Yeah, this is it. This is a popular spot. Our kids get to leave for lunch if they have their waiver and their academic progress. So I think the Eagles have enjoyed it. The deli has picked up lately. Me too. So I think this is our home away from home across the street. So it's definitely nice to have a grocery store right across from your school.
You know, I got in trouble for leaving high school to go get lunch. I didn't know you could do. I mean, is that legal now?
Yeah, they sign waivers, and now they have an academic part to it too as well. So if you have your grades and your waiver signed by your parents, they're allowed to leave for lunch.
I don't think I had either of those.
I'm going across the street to learn from Ingalls. You know,
that's right. Yeah.
I'm going to learn how to eat fried chicken
right.
and
they
mac
have
and
the
cheese.
best, the good lunch over here at Ingalls. So appreciate you hopping on with us. Bad news last night, though. You guys weren't able to get your final tune-up in. You were supposed to go to BHP for a JV and varsity scrimmage, but obviously Lightning had a little bit to do with that.
Yeah, and I'm disappointed that you don't get the reps in as we go. It's just been a kind of a real weird preseason with the weather. It's been a lot of rain, more so than what I can remember in the past. And was looking forward to playing a great team. You know, Coach Blackston and what they've done for decades now that he's been there. I think as we were talking last night, 30th year there, 24-something years.
We were just talking about that too.
And so, and for our kids to go back and play a team that we lost to in the Upper State Championship. So I think it was more of a disappointment not to just have the opportunity.
Sure.
But much like what we talked about before we got on air, the fact that you get out of that and going into week 0 healthy, you know, we're looking forward to that. We start off the season next week at the beach, which is a little abnormal. Everybody's excited. As you know, the players are really excited. The staff's really excited. The guy sitting here making the itinerary and trying to come up with the details, probably not as excited, but just really ready to watch them play and to get the season started off with a unique trip down there to the beach. We're going to stay the night on Thursday, do a walkthrough on the beach.
That's cool.
You know, and get to go by coastal and see some and visit there.
Where is Atlantic exactly located? Is that Myrtle Beach?
That is Myrtle Beach. They're about 20 minutes away from the coast in Conway, so it's not too far. Pretty centralized once you get down
And
there.
for those that don't know listening, Atlantic Collegiate, very similar to you guys?
Correct. Charter school, same authorizer. So there's a very true connection there to their school and our school as far as the operational system and the organization. So good chance to go. They came up here last year. That was our first ever game.
Yeah.
So returning the favor and going down there. So we've had some time to plan and get our kids down there. So they're looking really forward to it, and I am too. Just ready to get the season started.
Absolutely. Gray Ramsey, the head football coach of Mountain View Prep, joining us right here on the Saturday Scramble on the Fan Upstate. Let me ask you this: your team in 2025 compared to 2024, for somebody out there that doesn't follow you guys closely, more new faces than not coming back in 2025, or I said that wrong. More new faces, or you do have some guys coming back at key positions?
Yeah, I think on the offensive side, obviously we replaced two key pieces, the quarterback and the running back with Jalen graduating early. But have two quarterbacks that I think can go and win the football game, which is at our level and especially in our classification is usually pretty rare.
Sure.
So McCory and Anderson will step into the starting role for us, and then you've got Brody Judd, who's going to play a lot of football. And I believe that both of them can go and win the game. And then at the running back position, two guys that have done a really good job in replacing a really fantastic player in Jalen is Dylan McKee, who's a sophomore, will be our starter. We call him Nice. So we're excited for him. And then Matthias Neal will also get a lot of carries. And then after that, the returners are there. So nine of 11 The biggest deal for us is we've taken a huge step forward on the offensive line. I think we played a lot of young guys last year. They were sophomores at times. And so, for them to have a true off season and in high school, your jump from a physicality standpoint from a sophomore year to the junior year has really enabled us to do things that I want to do, that I'm familiar with, that has kind of been our MO for the whole time that I've been in high school football. Spread you out, play a little bit faster. Last year with those guys being so young and even having someone like Jalen and Drum in the backfield who had played a lot of football, we had to disguise a lot of things. We were playing 6-man lines and over tackles and, trying to hide some deficiencies that we have. We feel like going into this year, it's become one of our strengths of our football team. So it just allows us to be as explosive as we can. Katie Hainsworth returns at wide receiver, which if he's not the best wide receiver in South Carolina, I think he's one of the best.
Absolutely.
At one point.
And he'll be a senior?
He'll be a senior.
That's what I
thought. Committed to Charlotte right now. I think at one point when we had looked at his targets, 38 touches, and he had like 17 touchdowns. So,
it's pretty good.
We realized we needed to probably keep getting him the ball a little bit if he's going to score.
If I was an OC, I'd probably throw it to him every other play, you know?
And so if he touched this.
That's why I'm not an OC.
That's right. So, and then you keep going down the line. Savion Booker will be on the opposite side of him. Hayden Agnew, Juice Miller, Chase Richards, our offense, and this is a big thing to say. Obviously, in 2019 when we were at Chapman, we set the state scoring record.
Sure.
We're just as good and talented from a skill set as we were that year. So the opportunity is there for us. I'm really excited for our offense. And then on the defensive side of the ball, a lot of guys that may not have been considered starters but played a lot. So I don't know how you differentiate where you're a starter or you're not, and you played 60% of the ball game. You played a lot. So around 9 of the 11 of those spots.
Sure.
So a lot of familiar faces, and then there'll be some young guys just like in any year that you've got to plug in and that they've got to play. And hopefully in the next 5 weeks or so in this non-region schedule before we get to our region slate, they become accustomed to playing varsity football. But really excited. The pieces are there for us to be successful again. It's just can we continue to execute and hopefully grow in some of the weaknesses that we had last year.
So you mentioned your quarterback, McCorion.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people familiar with him from his time at Dorman. He was young, though, and a lot of us saw him at Dorman. What have you seen from him? Quarterback position, obviously very important. You're replacing the guy that you talked about from a season ago. McCorion's skill set, I always thought was there, but I think he had some growing up to do. What have you seen from him throughout the course of the offseason that leads you to believe that you guys could have another big year?
Yeah, I think just developing that poise. And he's just a guy that is really cool, calm, and collected. Not to use a cliche, set of terms there, but has really grown. I think in our unique situation, and now everywhere where people are getting transfers in, sometimes you don't know the background of a kid. And I'm a football fan. So I keep up with all high schools. I think the worst thing of being a high school football coach is you don't get to watch other high school football games on Friday.
Yeah.
But watching him play and then getting to know him in the past, few months and looking at what he does, the talent has always been there. And then for him to have that willingness and, he wants to learn, he wants to be coached hard. And then to see how he leads other people, that's been really fun for me. I think the success of any football team, the quarterback has to be someone that the team looks to and says, you can go and win a football game for us.
Yeah.
And he's been able to do that. He brings a little bit of a different dynamic that we didn't have quite as much. Drummond was kind of a creative scrambler at different times. McCorian is going to allow us to have some designed quarterback runs. And any time that you can utilize that at our level, it makes it really tough when those guys have to have an answer for him in the box. So a really dynamic player, and then the ability to make the throws on the field as a junior, he'll be a junior this year, is really special for us. We can utilize him in any way, whether it's deep play actions, quick game, RPOs. He's got the full set of tools, so just excited to continue to develop him.
How do you – and by the way, if you just tuned into the show, we're joined by Gray Ramsey, the head football coach at Mountain View Prep. How do you emphasize the importance of offensive line, defensive line as well? But I would imagine that when you have a school like MVP, you have interest from people in the upstate and across the state that are really good receivers, really good quarterbacks, really good running backs. You had some of those last year, but offensive line, I mean, you talked about last year wanting to get better there and maybe having a little bit more experience at offensive line. When you talk about promoting Mountain View Prep and trying to build a program, how do you also emphasize, I guess, not allow offensive line to kind of slip by the wayside because, as you said, it's just as important as anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I think we would be naive to sit here on the radio and know that the climate of high school football is changing.
Yeah.
You know, we go into last year and based on what happened, you know, we had a lot of transfers because all of them were transfers. We were a brand new school, and as you go, and then you sit back in a school like ours, and even in a charter school, and you look around, and if we did rankings around Spartanburg, Greenville County, and Cherokee County, we're at the bottom of the list of transfers. You know, so that's you can't ignore that. I think every program wants to promote themselves and their school of a place that they want their students to be from an academic standpoint. You know, for us, it will always be about development.
Sure.
You know, I think the key that I've had and the success that I've had working for Coach Hodge at Chapman and in Spartanburg and seeing the success that we've had at both of those places, where that you got to coach those 7th and 8th graders and 9th graders just as hard as you coach your high school kids. And the fact that we have our 7th and 8th graders under our roof, I get to see those guys every day. So one of the advantages that I have is that my varsity offensive line coach gets to interact with 7th and 8th graders every day. I get to coach the 7th grade quarterback just like I'm coaching the senior quarterback. So I think that, you know, from a sustainability standpoint, even in a school like ours where I know there's a perception in a charter school of getting transfers in, I don't think you have sustainability if you're not developing kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that our goal is always going to be to make sure in that young group in the 7th and 8th graders that we're doing a great job of getting them prepared. And because we'll be a small school, you know, we were laughing and looking at our roster numbers last year and this year. Our total high school enrollment is around 300 total students.
Wow.
So we're Dixie, McCormick, wherever you want to think.
Sure.
We're going to play some really good football teams and schools that have enrollment that are 1,300, 1,400 kids. So the fact that we have to train people both ways. You know, our depth for the offensive line is our defensive line.
Yeah.
Our depth for the defensive line will be our offensive line. And I don't think that'll ever change. And I don't mind that one bit. I think it takes creativity, and you got to do those things. But it starts with relationships too. You know, we're trying to continue to build things that people want to be a part of. That hopefully we're building and developing kids beyond the football field. Rob Williams has joined our staff. A local pastor around here. He's our player development coach, full-time staff member for me, and his job is to develop their hearts, minds, souls, bodies, whatever it may be. So just really trying to take the next step forward and be as creative as we want to be. Our school allows us to kind of be that way. We talked about early, just kind of joking back and forth about coming down here to lunch. But we do some different things. It's a true trying to give them a college-like experience, and hopefully part of that is that player development model.
You mentioned opening the season at Atlantic Collegiate. Only 3 home games this year. Not having to travel toward the Midlands, though. You're going to be traveling north, to northern part of Greenville County. For those that don't know, talk about where you'll be playing St. Joe's, Union County, and Chapman in 2025.
Yeah, been very fortunate enough to finally get to the part where we'll be playing our home games at North Greenville this year. Just what a fantastic, you know, facility for us to be able to play games. You know, for a school that doesn't have their own stadium just yet, you know, we're across the road and nothing from an athletic facility standpoint and permanent structure besides our baseball field being there yet, to say that we probably jumped to the top of the list of top 3A stadiums of where we get to play. So it's pretty cool.
Oh, no doubt.
So the fact that we get to provide an atmosphere like that, and it's important to me too, especially being in the region that we're in with the type of teams there, to provide them with an opportunity and their fans to enjoy and experience a high school atmosphere.
A little bit closer to Newberry too.
Yeah,
right?
it is. It is. It was tough. You know, you're having your home games and traveling, you know, an hour down the road.
Right.
So it will be closer. And a lot of our families being in the Greenville area and the Lyman or Duncan area, it's a much shorter trip for them too after the game. So excited to have a place too that, you know, last year we were at Newberry a little bit. We were at PC for a little bit to kind of lock down a situation and allow our guys that every Friday we get there, you can kind of establish your routines.
Yeah.
You know where you're going, you know where the locker room is, what time we're going to arrive, and the structure there. But just really fortunate enough to work with such a great university in North Greenville, what they stand for and their principles and ideas for what they do. So yeah, we're looking forward to it. And I think it's going to be some great atmosphere, especially once we get into the the region slate to be able to provide that as a home atmosphere for those other teams and opposing teams, but also for our home fans.
Yeah, they may have stepped it up since I was there, but as you know, you want to stop at your local Eagles before you go because there's not a ton of options up there in the big city of Tigerville. I think they do have a red light now, by the way.
They
Alex.
do, yeah.
They do
I
have
think
one red light.
Yeah, used to be just the four-way.
And I heard they're getting a Dollar General. I don't know if that's true.
Well, Dollar
They're
Generals
really.
pop up
I
everywhere.
was going to say they're really making it big. When you look at the schedule, obviously a very tough non-region slate, but Union County, Chapman, Woodruff, Broome. That's the region. A tough region. Last year, you guys were able to in your first year kind of handle business in the region. But Woodruff brings back a lot of talent and experience, and I know that region's probably going to be better this year than it was last year. What do you think about the region?
Yeah, I definitely do. I think my job as a coach is to try to evaluate our program, but also look at the other programs and understand your competition. And I think all three of those teams will take a step forward this year. All three great, four coaches that are great coaches, and then you go back and look at their season in any regard, I think they all take a step forward. So you go through our schedule and how we open up Union, the fact that he has another year to be there and their program on track, I think they take a step forward. And they got hit by injuries, and talking with Coach Isom last year, we would prepare for, and you lose all your quarterbacks, you do this, they're going to naturally take a step forward. Broome returns a lot of players this year. Great quarterback, someone that I love joy and competing against, but just a phenomenal player that allow us to be there. Chapman's going to take a step forward with Coach Cab.
They had a lot of injuries.
Of injuries. Your best ability is your availability. It doesn't matter if you're coach. So those guys are healthy. They're definitely going to be a tough challenge for us. And then Woodruff, it speaks in itself. Coach Sloan's, he's done a great job. And a lot of talent, especially at the skill level there, that puts a lot of pressure on us. So I think it's great for us, for this region. The goal, I think, for all of us collectively is that we want to be a region that makes a lot of noise in the playoffs. So being able to play each other in that region slate and you go out and compete and try to win the region, because it helps set you up in the bracket. But I think playing in that region, we're just at such an advantage this year that I enjoy that these teams, I think, and hopefully we're a part of that equation for them as well, that allows you to get prepared for games that truly matter, which means if you win, you get to keep going. And if you lose, you go home. I think it's really going to be great to have a region that gets us prepared to go and play in the playoffs and hopefully make some noise in against those other regions that we have, because they're tough too. Driving in on the way, hearing you talk about a Powdersville, BHP again, Christchurch, the 3A classification, especially in the upper state this year, it's going to be tough. So it's fun. That's why we play the game for, but the opportunity to go and play against those teams and those coaches, we're looking forward to it.
Coach, we appreciate your time as always. Thanks for stopping by, and best of luck this season. I'm sure we'll talk to you again real soon.
Yeah, thank you guys. Enjoy listening. Thanks for everything you do for high school football.
Absolutely. We'll continue the conversation on the other side. That's Gray Ramsey of Mountain View Prep right here on the Fan Upstate.
Clear.
Autopay debit or bank account required. See 5G device coverage and access details at T-Mobile.com.
High school football rules on the
Mike is hot
Saturday morning
in
Scramble.
3, 2. Mike is hot.
Saturday Scramble continues on right here on the Fan Upstate. Texter from the 978 gets in on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line and ask what thoughts on, or Cole, what are your thoughts on region or 2A region with Landrum, Chesney, etc. Alex, that is Region 1, 2A, right?
That's correct. Yes.
Region 1, 2A. Thoughts on that region? Very good question. Appreciate the text. Region 1, 2A consists of, Alex Guest has it pulled up, and is it Liberty in that region?
Yeah,
Liberty?
so it's Blacksburg, Chesney, Landrum, Clinton, Liberty.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not used to Liberty. I'm just not used to Liberty being in that region, so that's odd. I don't know why I don't associate them with that region. So I think Landrum's interesting. It's an interesting season with Chesney now, and with Brett Chappell's second season. Obviously, they had a big win last night, 21-0 over Union County. I think Chesney's going to be really good. Mike Reed, first year, we'll see exactly what happens with Mike Reed and Landrum. I think there's some building blocks that he would still like to lay and get Landrum going, but I think Landrum's going to be improved. Chesney, I look at Chesney, Alex, in that region and think, man, they've got a shot to really make some noise in that region. Chesney, from what I've told, they're trending in the right direction again. Looked good last night. I think the world of Brett Chappell, and I think he's done a great job. Blacksburg, you said, is also in that region, right?
Blacksburg's in that region, yeah.
They got a big win last night. They'll be better, but I just look at it, and ultimately Clinton's the reigning state champion, and in that classification, they're going to be tough to knock off in that region. But I do think that Chesney can make some noise, man.
Yeah, I think so too, Cole. I mean, they were 6-6 overall last year. They went 3-1 in that region, with the lone loss being to eventual state champion Clinton. So, I think Chesney will be much improved this year. Now that you've got second-year head coach Brett Chappell, as opposed to coming in and trying to implement new things.
He came in late.
It was like May, right? Yeah. So
April or May. It was a late hire. I'm with you. I think Brett Chappell's going to do a really good job. So to answer the question of the texter, I still look at Clinton as
Clinton's
top
the cream
team.
of the crop
they are
there
in that region, and I think they'll win the region again. They're just going to be so good. Yeah, they lost some guys from last year's state championship team, but year in and year out, they're going to be tough. But I will say, I think Chesney's going to have a chance to maybe finish second. I really do.
Yeah.
They're going to be good. They're going to be good. So we'll see. That's a fun little region, though. It definitely is. The conversation continues. You can also text the show at 844-326-3663. You want to get Matt Real before we get the players? Does that go with you, Coach? We'll get you and then have them after you? All right, we'll have Matt Real here in about 2 minutes on the Fan Upstate, as we are live this morning at Ingalls Markets, and it is 8650 Asheville Highway in Boiling Springs. 8650 Asheville Highway is the Springfield location, right across the street from Mountain View Prep. We will hear from Matt Real in about 2 minutes on the Fan Upstate. But a lot of these scrimmages last night, Coach Ramsey just talked about theirs, Alex, at BHP getting canceled. Summertime storms, part of it. Hopefully, as we get more into the fall, we won't have as much of that. But you do feel for teams that aren't able to get that last bit of work in, right? As those, for example, Spartanburg Mallard Creek played one quarter last night. Broome Landrum didn't even get to play, and those are two teams that, man, they needed last night. So it's tough.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely tough when you go into the week and go into your off season or your preseason, your final fall workouts, and you're expecting to be in a situation where you get those reps and you get to see 2 quarters worth of action out of your team, and you can kind of sub in some of these guys, and you've got obviously your first team guys out there, but then kind of see what those backups can do for you. And when you don't get that, or you don't get as many reps in the case of Spartanburg and Mallard Creek last night, when you don't get as many reps as you had really hoped to, it kind of leaves you sitting there thinking, well, what are we going to do in practice leading up to the week 0 game next week now that is going to get us in a situation where we can see what we wanted to do?
Yeah. So many ways to listen on the Fan Upstate, 97.1 FM in Spartanburg, 97.7 FM in Greenville, the Odyssey app, online at fanupstate.com, and also on the iHeartMedia app. You can also watch the show on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, as 217 people are doing right now at the Fan Upstate. And we're joined in person by Matt Real, the head football coach at Bowling Springs. Coach, how are you, man?
Doing good, brother. Good to be here this morning.
Appreciate you and your guys getting up. I know it's early, but it means a lot to us, and we'd love spotlighting you guys and talking about the Bulldogs. 2025 season is here. Can you believe it's here already?
No, man. I was just getting ready to say, after the summer, we're in the building at 6:30 in the mornings. So this is like a sleep.
Okay.
They've already got a practice in.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
It's you go back to school, it's crazy, but you actually get a little more sleep in the morning. So, but no, it's crazy. I feel like every year, the summer into the regular season just creeps up on you really, really fast.
It really does.
And I think too, it's the way that the culture and the system of high school football is now. There is no downtime.
Yeah.
It
with them, 50 weeks of the year, something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I told our parents, other than we're with our guys other than 4 weeks out of the year. 2 weeks at Christmas, July 4th, obviously, and then spring break.
Yeah.
So the other, I'm not a mathematician, but however many other weeks that
48
is,
weeks, something like that.
We're with them. So
Right.
it kind of never feels like there's never a downtime.
Sure.
Which for me, it's great because I love these kids and we got a good group. So they're a fun group to be a part of. You don't dread it. It's just, man, it's just one thing after the other.
Yeah.
It just keeps building.
We're joined by Matt Rill, the head football coach of the Bowling Springs Bulldogs, right here on the Fan Upstate. Coach, you guys able to get some work in last night against J.O. Man. 2-quarter format, right?
Yes.
So you don't get obviously the full 4 quarters as you would on a normal Friday night. Talk about what you saw from your guys last night.
Well, I think we got all 3 games in, which was great.
Yeah.
I thought it was a really good night of football. Norman and Ridgeview were before us, and then Chesney and Union with the first game. So it was really good football for the fans. But we kind of treated it a little bit different. We didn't treat it as week 0. We still had, we kind of had some things already on paper. We were going to sub at this point. We were going to play these guys at this point, no matter what the score was.
Sure.
Just trying to. We still got to evaluate. We got a lot of new guys, a lot of competition, a lot of question marks as far as who's going to be the guy at this position, or in this situation, this is the guy we need in there. So we rotated a lot. We had both sides of the ball, kind of looking at some different people, and I think it got all of our questions answered last night. Saw some good things. Had some things we got to get better at. I thought we did some really good things, had some big penalties, took points off the board, and then also that, set them up a little bit with some stuff. So a good finish going into week 0. Definitely gave us some things we definitely got to get better at this coming week, and some things to focus on, like what you guys were talking about, that maybe some of the other teams didn't get the opportunity to find out. And, as I told our staff, whatever questions we have, we need to figure out those answers last night.
That's right. So that's an interesting point you bring up as we're joined by Matt Rill here on the Fan Upstate, head football coach at Bowling Springs. Coach, what is it about even only 2 quarters last night against J.O. Man, from a coaching standpoint, what is it that you and your staff can take away from 2 quarters against another opponent that maybe you can't take away from playing yourself, inter-squad, whatever it is, in practice during the week?
Well, I think there's a big factor of when the lights come on, who freaking jumps in there and says, hey, I'm a dude, let's go play, and the guy that backs away from that a little bit. And, and I think also our younger kids have never been in that situation where the stands are packed, the lights are on, the music's going, the helmet tunnel's out. And it's real, and it's not just a laid-back Thursday night, where, typically you don't have thousands of people in the stands. So, to me, one thing we measured last night was just our effort, how hard we played. Then also just, charting and documenting the mess-ups we had, whatever that may be. And then from a coaching staff, one of the things that we've got to do a better job of, from a communication standpoint, from a relay standpoint of just the operational part, to make sure our guys are getting the calls, the checks, everything that they need to. So it's kind of a trial run for us as well, to work all those things out. And, I got a new coordinator this year. So just how he wants things to work on Friday night is a learning curve for me and those other guys too. So just a lot of evaluations, honestly, from the top down, and then just making sure that all those things are mirrored up and the way they're supposed to be going into, week 0.
So you talk about the guys that are jumping right in when the lights come on, that aren't afraid of it. Who are some of those guys for Boiling Springs in 2025?
I felt really good last night about our guys, as a whole. I thought we played extremely hard last night. We had some, had a couple special teams mishaps, had a bad snap, missed a field goal, had a touchdown call back late for an ineligible lineman downfield. So just some little things like that we got to clean up. I didn't think it was anything as a whole, but obviously the 3 guys we got here are going to be, big-time playmakers for us. I really felt like defensively we flew around last night, especially with our first group. Those guys were on it. They were doing a great job. Offensively, we got a lot of guys that we feel really good about, but a lot of them are first-year guys,
Sure.
Coming back. Defensively, same thing. Dennis Glenn, Jeremiah Favorite, two notable names, across the whole state. Really liked our defensive line. Carson Weed is a guy moving up, just an ultimate effort guy. A little bit undersized possibly for where he's at, but, man, that cat plays with his hair on fire all the time. Our linebacking core, really like him. TJ Collins, he'll be a 3-year starter for us. Really good player. And then on the back end, Karan Nesbitt, 2-year starter for us. Obviously, Jeremiah's back there. A guy I don't think people talk about enough is our junior safety, Tavion Hall. Had a phenomenal year last year. He's a dual sport guy. Just a ball hawk, always around the football. And then offensively, obviously everybody's asking about the quarterback situation. Emory Logan played all 2 quarters last night. I thought he had a really good game for us. Missed a couple things, but that's to be had, still in the preseason. But dynamic with the ball in his hands, does some really good stuff. And then I keep telling people we have a ton of depth at receiver, but I really believe everything that we do is going to come down to our offensive line.
Yeah.
If those guys can solidify. I thought we played really hard last night. Had a couple guys that were filling in for a couple guys that are banged up right now. I thought we got a lot from those guys. So, to me, O-line wise, if they can be really good for us, man, I think we got a really good chance to be a pretty good football team this year.
Coach, you mentioned the offense and how you want to get, week by week, get better at that position from what you lost a season ago. One thing that, I was talking about somebody with last night that we've learned in this region, and it's true across, I guess, all levels of football, but we've seen in our region, Region 2-5A, we've seen teams that weren't as explosive offensively, like last year's Dorman team, like last year's Burns team, stay in a lot of games because of their defense. While your team is still working out the kinks offensively, you've got one of the better defenses in the region. What do you feel like that defense will be able to do just in terms of not only keeping you in some of these games, but also providing a spark for your offense?
Well, one of our positives last night, we had 2 big kickoff returns.
There you go.
Jeremiah did a great job, and his team did a great job giving him an opportunity. So from a defensive standpoint and a special team standpoint, defensively, can you change the field position?
Yeah.
Can you get guys on and off the field? If you're getting 3 and outs and the other team's defense is constantly having to come back out on the field, you can wear those guys down too. Forcing turnovers and scoring, which we did a really good job of last year.
Yeah.
If we can, average 7 points on defense, which, people think, 7 points, that's huge in the grand scheme of things. If you can average, we really look at the hidden yardage. So, like, do we fair catch it, or does the ball roll an extra 15 or 20 yards? Do we get, some kind of penalty before the kickoff where that changes the field position? Like, there's all kinds of things that we're going to try to prod ourselves on that I think can help. Like last night, we got that big kick return. We're starting on the +40. Yeah. So, offenses that are still trying to put things together can be really successful if they've only got short fields to work with. So,
absolutely.
And I'll be honest with you, man, we've got some really good guys on the offensive side. But when you lose essentially 9 starters,
yeah,
I don't care who you are.
That's right.
There's going to be a learning curve there with those guys. And last night was really good for our guys to see that, and I'm really excited, to see the whole picture put together for 4 quarters next week.
Coach, before we let you go and run to a break, we'll get your players in the next segment. Tell us who you have with you today.
We got 2 seniors and one of our juniors. Grayson Crow plays slot receiver for us. And pretty much whatever else we need him to do, he's kind of a fix-it guy. Hey, we got a problem here. Let's put him there. He'll fix it.
Duct tape, right?
Yes, sir. Holds on, holds for our extra points on some of our special teams. Does a great job for us. Jeremiah Favorite, I'm sure you guys will talk about it. He's already committed to Michigan State.
Sure.
Plays DB for us, kickoff return, punt return. Another one of those guys that we try to find him out there as much as possible. And then junior defensive lineman Dennis Glenn. Really big time player for us. Going to be a great asset for everybody on our football team this year. And the good news is we got him, coming back again next year.
That's awesome.
So
That is awesome.
3 great human beings.
Yeah.
All 3 honor society kids, great in the classroom, great in the community. Couldn't ask for better people to kind of be the face of our football program.
Well, Coach, as always, we appreciate you, and we'll talk to them in the next segment and see if they can do as good as their coach did.
They'll probably be way better than me. There's no doubt about it.
That's Coach Matt Reel, head coach of Bowling Springs. We'll continue the conversation next on the Fan Upstate.
Hot.
This is the Fan Upstate, 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg.
Streaming everywhere on the Odyssey app.
The final Saturday morning scramble, or the final segment of the Saturday morning scramble right here on the Fan Upstate, the first Saturday scramble of the 2025 season. So good to be with you on this Saturday as high school football season is here, and we will continue the conversation each and every Saturday morning from 8 to 10 a.m. Next Saturday morning, we'll be at the Ingalls in Powdersville on on Anderson Road. It's 10903 Anderson Road in Piedmont. So we'll be headed to Powdersville next Saturday morning. But we're joined right now by 3 Bowling Springs Bulldogs, Dennis Glenn, Jeremiah Favorite, Grayson Crow. And Dennis, we'll start with you. You said that you would be the best on the radio.
Yes.
You've got a high expectation. First time on the radio?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever dreamed, like, after football? I mean, what do you want to be when you, like, everybody grows up wanting to be something? Have you ever thought, man, I'd be really good on the radio or a DJ or something like that?
Never crossed my mind.
Well, after this, it might.
It might.
Dennis Glenn, a junior for the Bowling Springs Bulldogs. Talk about last year. Obviously, you guys had a really good season coming into 2025. Now losing a lot on the offensive side of the ball, but defense, you got to feel like it's going to be one of your strengths heading into this season.
I feel like our secondary do a good job as they have in the past, and getting some young guys up on the defensive line, and our linebacker core has been pretty solid as we've seen through spring practice and our summer camp. I feel like a lot of pieces are coming together how they should, and as the season comes up, we'll see and put them to test. That's Dennis Glenn. To your left is Jeremiah Favorite, committed already to Michigan State, as we've talked about before. Did you want to, let me ask you this before we get into the 2025 season, was that something you wanted to get out of the way before your senior season started in terms of your commitment?
I didn't really have a time on it. It was just going to be, when I felt right. When it felt right, I was going to do it. But, through the summer, took a lot of visits, and, before the season, it just made sense talking to my parents. I was going to go get that out the way for sure.
What felt right about Michigan State for you?
The campus, it was beautiful. The coaches, it felt like a family there. All the coaches was on board. They got big group chats, things like that. They come in daily. They came out of weight room. They came out of school. It was just a good family. I love the coaches there. Coach Smith, I feel like he's doing a good job. Coach Blue, he checks in daily. It just felt like a real family. Felt like I fit in there, and I just loved it.
That is awesome. To your left, Jeremiah, Grayson Crow on the offense side of the ball. Grayson, with a lot of newness on the offense side of the football, does that excite you a little bit? I mean, I know there's a lot to replace, but at the same time, you guys working through the spring and the summer, getting a lot of new faces going, and I'm sure that has to excite you a little bit.
Yeah, most definitely. It's really exciting just to see everybody that has came up like from lower positions, like on JV, coming up to varsity, and new people coming in, like our quarterback coming from Spartan High, Emery Logan. It's just really exciting to see everybody coming together and playing as a team and as a unit.
Grayson, when you're a receiver, when you have a new quarterback come in, how long does that adjustment period take going from a guy in Lincoln Husky last year at quarterback position to a new quarterback this year, regardless of if it was somebody a transfer or somebody that was already on the roster? Does that take you a long time to adjust to a new guy?
It can take some time. But as you keep playing with them, the relationship grows stronger, and it'll keep growing stronger as you play with them. So, through spring and through the summer, it's just been the relationships keep getting stronger.
Yeah. Dennis, I want to ask you about your new defensive coordinator, 2025, right?
Yes, sir.
Has that been a little bit of an adjustment, or is that something that as soon as it happened, you picked up on it pretty quickly?
It was a little bit of adjustment at the beginning, but the person that Coach Anderson is very easy to get along with. When he first got there, I was struggling with some of the plays, and I called him up. He stayed with me after school to make sure I got it. It's a great guy. He's on us pretty hard, but it's from a great place, and it was an adjustment. But now that we rolling.
What was different about what Coach Anderson is bringing defensively as the new DC?
First off, we had a lot more calls. It was a lot more calls, and just the way that we call it, it was pretty much the exact opposite of what we did last year, just on, some personal keys and things like that.
Sure.
But, we've gone to some other places, scrimmages, things like that, and we see that it works. And what he's doing is works, and he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah. How long does it take when you talk about the newness? Is that something by this time of year that you're pretty familiar with and kind of working out the kinks in the summertime?
Definitely. By now, we all got it, pretty much everybody. All strings got it. But it can also be determined on the level of how much you study.
Sure.
So I pretty much got into it hard when we first got there because it was something new and it came to me quickly. But through our practice schedule, through our spring, through our summer practice schedule, he made sure that we got it and everybody has it.
Jeremiah, I want to go to you now, also on the defense side of the football. What do you feel like this defense in 2025 can do? Obviously, we know it's a tough schedule, tough region as it is every year, but you guys, bring back a lot of pieces on that defense.
Yeah, for sure. I think last year we had a great season, defensive-wise as a team in general. But, last year we had a lot of turnovers with Coach Graham. He had a bunch of plays dialed up, and we made the play, a lot of picks, a lot of forced fumbles last year. But this year, even though we lost a few pieces, we still returned a couple guys, a lot of guys in the back end, a couple guys up front. And I just think this defense is probably one of our best, especially in the back end. We're good. And, you know, with Coach Anderson, where he's come from, you know, different high schools, also being at the college level at Gardner-Webb in North Carolina. I think he brings that college experience to the defense, and you know that some quarterbacks may haven't seen before, may have to make a few reads. So I think this new defense will help us a lot in the long run. You know, it's different. It's a lot of calls. It's a lot of pressures. You know, you never know who's coming.
Yeah.
You know, from outside to deep you know, you just never know. So I think this new defense will help us a lot, put us in the right place to make some plays on the ball and get some pressure back there. But I definitely think it'll be good for us for sure.
And then going back to Grayson on the offense side of the football, talk about what it's been like having to go against these guys all spring and summer. I'm sure that makes you guys better as well, right?
It's competition every day. One day defense will shut us down.
Sure.
One day offense will score more times than the defense will shut us down. I mean, it's just friendly competition. At the end of the day, we're all brothers. We're all trying to make each other better, and we all are striving towards the same goal. So it's fun having that competition, especially because there's such a good defense.
Yeah.
It's good because it'll help us when we're playing these teams in our region that'll also be tough too.
So who won more of those battles this summer? Offense or defense?
Defense.
Would you agree, Ray?
Defense.
I'd say it's pretty close.
Pretty close. Coach, would you agree? No comment. That's a smart answer there. Smart answer. What excites you guys? And we can go. You all three can answer this. What excites you most about this upcoming season? We'll start with you, Dennis.
I think what excites me the most is the potential that we have, and the potential that some other places might not realize that we have. They see we lost 34 seniors, 32, whatever it was.
Yeah.
They see we lost so many guys, and they're like, that's just a team on the schedule. But they don't know what we know, and that's really exciting. Just the guys like Fave and Crow, some other guys on the defense, and a lot of power on the offense that they're not going to be ready for just because they want to take it back to the way Bowling Springs used to be, where it was just we're going to play them. Okay, we're going to go win. But they don't really know what we have.
Yeah. How would you answer that, Jeremiah?
To piggyback off what he said, you know, just we did lose a lot. We lost 34 seniors, so that's a lot. But I mean, defense, you know, is holding up, and offense is really good too. I think they'll be surprised at what we can hold. We have two good quarterbacks, you know, with two different play styles. We can switch it up whenever we want to. Yeah. Accustomed to the defense, we'll see if we want to, you know, pass it a lot, you know, whether it's run. I think that'll be good. But you know, just you know, people think that we lost a lot and we're not going to be anybody, but we know what we did. We know how we grinded in the summer at 7-on-7 in the weight room on the field. You know, we know the extra reps we had to put in, you know, after the workout, after everything. We know what we have. We know our standard. We know our capability. So I think it's just really just going out there and playing, just, you know, just being us, being our standard. I think that'll be good for sure.
Yeah, and then Grayson, excites you most?
Going off of what they said, I think people don't realize and they don't understand the amount of potential we have and the amount of work we put in since the season ended last year. And I think that we can turn a lot of heads knowing that we've lost a lot of seniors, but also we have a lot of people coming up and a lot of people that are wanting to step into those roles and wanting to work hard for us and practice hard for us and play hard for us. I think it's going to be really good to see how many heads we will turn and how many games that we'll win, surprisingly, to a lot of people, but not surprising to us because we know the work that we put in. But, I mean, it's kind of hard for people to understand the amount of work that we've put in.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be really, really good to see.
For sure. Thanks, guys, for coming out. Obviously, appreciate each of you and your coach as well for making time for us this morning, and best of luck this season.
Thank you.
Before you take your headsets off, we'll throw it back to the top of the hour. We're coming up here shortly. That puts a bow on the Saturday Scramble for today. We'll be back next Saturday, like I said, in Powdersville. Thanks to all of the coaches and players, and for you out there listening as well. Appreciate you listening 8 to 10 a.m. every Saturday morning right here on the Fan Upstate. We'll do it again next Saturday live from 10903 Anderson Road in Piedmont.
Clear.
Thanks, John.
You have a good rest of your day, sir, and I'll save this, hour 2.
Question
Thanks,
or
Chuck.
comment? Call 844-FAN-PHONE. Text
So have a good rest of your day. Have a great
71307
weekend.
followed by
You too,
keyword
John. Thank you.
FAN.
This is the Saturday Morning Scramble on the Fan Upstate.